You thought you were the hero. You felt like the world revolved around you. But what if it didn't? These 8 games fool you into believing you're the main character until the game pulls the rug from underneath you, flipping your perspective and making you realize that you're just a piece in someone else's story. This video contains spoilers, so if you don't want that, please watch another one of our videos instead. With that being said, let's get into it. We're starting off strong with Red Dead Redemption 2, which narrowly missed out on Game of the Year in 2018, but still received many other awards because of its incredible story. At first glance, Red Dead 2 feels like a classic case of main character energy. You play as Arthur Morgan, a scruffy outlaw with a tragic past and a tight bond with his gang, and feared by just about everyone else. The story gives you the illusion of control, but are you the real protagonist? Not really. He's working for Dutch's dream and ultimately John Marston's redemption. Arthur's storyline revolves around his loyalty to Dutch, the charismatic leader of his gang. You're executing his plans, you're building his vision, but once Arthur becomes sick with tuberculosis, he begins to question everything. The violence, the loyalty, and the man he's become. In the end, Arthur dies in most endings, but not as the hero, but as the man caught in someone else's downfall. This shift reveals that Arthur was a key character in the story, but not the main one, just preparing the world for the real protagonist. The story also explores the myth of the Western hero. They just don't really exist. You ride, shoot, and survive, but ultimately the world doesn't revolve around you. Your actions mean little in the big picture. You can play Red Dead on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. The second game is the Stanley Parable, where you play as Stanley. Shocker, right? But it quickly becomes clear that you aren't the one in charge. The game opens with a seemingly basic premise. Stanley works in an office and then one day his co-workers vanish and he sets out to discover why. The game takes you on an incredibly well thought out and crafted journey. Naturally, you think you're the main character because you're pretty much the only character visible, but the narrator and the game itself quickly impose themselves as the boss and in control. What unfolds is a brilliant deconstruction of choice. Every time you try to assert control, whether it's disobeying the narrator, exploring off-script paths, or making a different decision, the game reacts by mocking you, resetting the world, or confronting you with absurdity. The point is, your sense of control and freedom is reasonably limited. Even when you feel like you're winning, you're still playing within a controlled system designed by the narrator. This creates the illusion of being the protagonist while actually highlighting how little power you have. The Stanley Parable is a game that plays you. It received an Ultra Deluxe version and modern revamp a few years ago, which came with updated graphics and a bunch of new content like areas to explore, new choices to make, and secrets to uncover. The Ultra Deluxe version is available on all platforms. The third game on the list is Outer Wilds, and it is one of those games that you can only play once, and once you know about it, it ruins the playthrough, so it's best you just skip ahead to the next one if you don't want it ruined. In Outer Wilds, you start by thinking you're the chosen one. You're the first astronaut given a ship and a translator. You're meant to be the explorer, the unraveler of mysteries, the player destined to stop the end of the world. But the deeper you go, the clearer it becomes. You're not the main character of the story. The true protagonists are long gone. The Nomai, an ancient alien race whose scientific curiosity and tragic failure drive the entire plot. You're not their descendant, hero, or savior, just a curious archaeologist stumbling through their ruins, reading their logs, and witnessing their failed time loop experiment. The universe will continue with or without you. It ends every 22 minutes, and no action you take can stop that. The game doesn't reward you with power or control, it rewards you with understanding. And when you reach the finale, you don't save the world, you just observe its rebirth. Outer Wilds isn't a game about you, it's about everything else in the world around you. It's available on all platforms and won plenty of awards, so it's well worth checking out if you haven't already. The next game is Pathologic II, which is a much darker game and story compared to the rest of this list. You assume the role of Artemi Burak, a surgeon returning to his plague-ridden hometown. The setup sounds familiar, a lone protagonist with a unique skill set facing a deadly crisis. The secluded rural town is being devoured by the plague, and now that its chief healer is dead, you're there to take his place. The game makes you think you're going to save the town and that you will do it within the 12-day deadline, but very quickly it becomes clear you're not going to be able to do that. You're not even close to being the hero. The town is alive metaphorically and through its systems, politics, culture, and rituals. You're not there to take over and save it, just to barely survive in it. Every choice you make feels like damage control. You're starving, exhausted, despised by many, and overwhelmed by forces outside your control, like disease, superstitions, cult-like factions, and even supernatural entities. Meanwhile, the other characters act with their own agency, often ignoring or dismissing you. The game is often described as unwinnable, not because it can't be completed, but because the idea of you being a hero fixing everything is a delusion. You are part of a dying town, not its savior. For this reason, many consider the protagonist to be the town and not you. Pathologic II is available on PC, PS4 and Xbox One, and there's a third game on its way that has a similar premise and you can play the demo for it right now. In the back half of the list now, we've got Bioshock, which was so good that the series is one of the best-selling game series of all time. From the very first moments of Bioshock, you feel like the chosen one. You survive a plane crash, descend into the underwater city of Rapture, and start shooting lightning from your hands. Classic main character stuff. After playing through and making many difficult decisions, performing abilities like no one else, it felt like you were the one. But by the time you reach the infamous reveal, you realize you've never had control, and you were never the protagonist. The moment of realization comes with 3 simple words: would you kindly? This phrase is repeated throughout the game and is revealed to be a form of mind control. Everything you've done, every door you've opened, every person you've killed was because someone told you to. You weren't choosing your path, you were obediently following orders, stripped of control, and unknowingly enacting someone else's will. In that moment, the illusion of being the hero shatters. Bioshock uses its own mechanics and your trust in video game structure to make you question every choice you thought you made. Ken Levine, the game's director, once said, "The story was always about control, and the player ironically never had any." Bioshock is on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, and was followed up with sequels called Bioshock 2 and Bioshock Infinite that are also available to play. Next up is The Forgotten City, which was actually a mod for Skyrim before it got its own game that went on to win awards. The Forgotten City begins like a typical hero's journey. You wake up on a riverbank and asked to explore a mysterious ancient Roman city that has been cursed. If one person sins, everyone dies. You go back in time to investigate the city and unfold the non-linear story, hoping to solve the mystery and prevent any disaster from occurring. Naturally, because of your abilities to time travel, you assume you're the main character sent to save everyone. But as you delve deeper, the assumption unravels. You're not fulfilling a prophecy. You're not even the first person to try. The city has looped countless times, trapping multiple failed heroes who came before you. The real forces shaping the story are the gods, fate, and history. You're just the most recent person to try it. Even when you solve the puzzle, it's not through brute force or righteousness. You succeed by learning, adapting, and playing by the system's rules. The story isn't about you. You just happen to be there at the right time. You're just the person trying to understand divine logic. The Forgotten City is available on all platforms and was made by fellow Australians, so it was an extra reason to add it to the list. The penultimate game is Half-Life 2, which unlike The Forgotten City ended up being the foundation of many games that came from mods of it, including Entropy 02 and Gary's mod. Enough about them though. In Half-Life 2, you play as Gordon Freeman, the silent scientist turned revolutionary who becomes humanity's best hope against an alien regime. The game frames you as the messiah of City 17. Everyone looks to you, fights beside you, and treats you like a symbol of resistance. It feels like you're the main man. But of course, to be on this list, there's obviously a twist. You're not the one in charge. You're being used and manipulated. The mysterious G-Man who pulls Gordon in and out of stasis between Half-Life games reveals himself as the true puppet master. He controls your presence, your timing, and your access to the world. You're only deployed when it suits his goals, not the Resistance, and definitely not your own. By the end of episode 2, your efforts are clearly part of a bigger chess game that you don't understand. You're a weapon, a tool, a resource. You might be the playable character, but you're just the pawn doing the dirty work. Half-Life 2 released in 2004 and is pretty much only available on PC, but you can also try it on Xbox 360 and PS3 if you still have either of those consoles working. Before we get into the final game, let us know if you disagree with any of our picks or would have picked another game. Make sure to like and subscribe to discover more new games to play. The final game is Death Stranding, an action-adventure RPG dubbed as a walking simulator, famous for having the Walking Dead actor Norman Reedus as the playable character. At first glance, Death Stranding casts you, Sam Porter Bridges, as the ultimate main character. You're tasked with reconnecting a shattered America, traversing deadly terrain, avoiding ghostly BTs, and delivering hope and packages across isolated outposts. You're the bridge between the people. But while the game gives you the power like advanced tools, weapons, and endurance, it never treats you like a hero. He's just another carrier picked for his immunity to the Death Stranding and haunted by trauma. He spends most of the game resisting the role people try to force on him. Meanwhile, the true architect of the story is Amelie, a mysterious figure working behind the scenes who reveals herself as an extinction entity, destined to end the world. Every step Sam takes is part of her plan, not his. Your journey doesn't stop the apocalypse, it simply delays it. You're just the little guy in a cosmic cycle beyond comprehension. You're not the hero to save humanity, you're just trying to buy it more time. Death Stranding is available on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox, with the second game releasing on the 26th of June this year, and there's a movie adaptation in development too.